So basically, not too long ago, I made a city in Scrap Mechanic. Now it was quite big, well, relatively big. Well, I felt it was relatively big at the time. It wasn't actually that big. So today we're going to make a big one. Well, this is probably going to be a part one. So yeah, I probably won't finish it in this video. But anyway, so now the thing with my old city is it basically had basically, although I didn't build it straight onto the ground, I made my own ground out of blocks really. Now the whole idea is that there would basically be a sewers underneath it, so you get because it was just interesting at the time, especially since the whole point was kind of just to destroy it at the end, and it was quite fun to be fair. Obviously, I saved it, but anyway. So yeah, I'm also putting sewers in this one, and also gonna put thrower pipes, so that would be more interesting. So anyway, yeah, basically what it is well, actually I didn't really explain it, but it's basically built in tiles. So I can just weld them all together in the well, save them, duplicate them, and weld them all together in the end. So I'm basically just gonna build each tile, and then I'm gonna actually turn it into a proper city. Now each tile is I think around 80 by 80 blocks, which is quite a bit, but it's not too big. But yeah, I want this thing to be quite interactive and quite easy to explore. So I'm gonna put so you will have access to the sewers if you need to through manhole covers. You just break them, then you'll be able to go through all of these. That was a plan, and I think I ended up doing it. And I started with the higher up pipes, which are going to be smaller, but there's also going to be more of them, so that'd be a bit more interesting. Well, I guess it only took around a week to make, but it was just pretty small, especially how big the thing, is supposed to be. I don't know if I'll ever get that size, but yeah. So, obviously the first thing I'm going to need to do after this is build roads, as roads are pretty important as they basically bring the whole city together. And in my last city, the roads weren't actually too good. They're okay, but you also couldn't access the sewers or anything, which kind of ruined them a bit. But yeah, the roof to the smaller pipes, just so you know. Yeah. Now, this doesn't really matter too much. I'm probably not going to mention it much in the video. I'm going to have to gloss over quite a bit because I have done quite a lot of recording, probably around like 12 hours of recording, to be honest. And I'm definitely not putting this all into a 20-minute video. So yeah. So if I gloss over something, my bad. But well. And I wanted to actually build the access point for this, and I have included this since this is quite important to be fair. This is going to be in every tile. But yeah. The problem with the last city is it felt very repetitive and just a low quality. I want this to feel a bit high quality and actually something like move around rather than actually explore. And in fact, there's some interesting stuff I could do with it in the future. But anyway, I made the manhole cover as just a simple thing made out of cardboard, so if you had a spud gun, you could break through it. And I started off with the default ground. I'm basically going to have a normal tile, which I'll build off every other tile, which is just going to have this kind of rough ground just to make it a slightly different, as the last one is the grass tiles are just plain. But yeah. Now, I am going to use actually a few mods for this. I won't use modded part for the actual thing, but for example, the thing I just used was a painting thing, which can paint loads of things really quickly, which is just way easier than going around painting the whole thing. But anyway, let's start on the roads. Now, the first road I'm going to make is the cross sect. Well, I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to name roads, but it's basically the one with 4 exits, basically. So it can, well, 4 entrances one from each side, basically. So yeah. But this is the best one to make first, so I can just build everything else off it. I also wanted to add street lights, so I didn't add that in my last one. And I also want to maybe make a master switch you can use to turn off the street lights, which would be cool, just to make it a bit more interactive and make it feel like an actual city. Now, one thing I am not going to get right is the fact that this city is basically going to be flat. Not really any, because normally cities would adapt around terrain, but there's no terrain to adapt around since I kind of built it all, obviously. So yeah, it's just going to be what it is. Because if it was tool, it'd make a lot more issues with making the whole tile system that I'm using. Because tile systems are just generally better and not as it saves a lot of time just being able to duplicate parts. So anyway, I made these street lights. They look pretty cool, and I think they do quite a lot of illumination, so I think they're going to be pretty good. But anyway, there is one problem though, and that's the fact that I didn't realize when you go far away, the lots of the parts of the street lights kind of just stop rendering as far away you can't look at the spherical bits on the side, which doesn't ruin it, as it makes it look a bit more futuristic with like floating lights, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not changing it, so yeah. Right, I also worked on the straight road, as that's probably the next thing we did. Now, to be fair, I think in the end I only used straight roads in the one I made previously with the crossroads, as that generally was just easiest. Now, there's also no road markings, mostly because I don't know how road markings work, and the whole point says 2 lanes on either side, and I don't, and they're definitely not big enough for 2 cars, they're barely big enough for one. So yeah, it's just gonna be the way it is. Also missed a bit. But yeah, it's pretty solid so far. I don't think it looks too bad. You can see the manhole up in the middle of the sidewalk, which is pretty done well. Pretty well. Oh no, dab it in. Now I did make this corner piece as well, which was meant to be like a twist in the road, but I never ended up using it anyway. But at least I had it if I needed it. Now anyway, then I started working in the car park, because this is the city, it needs car parks. In fact, my old city didn't have any car parks, which probably why it wasn't much fun to drive around. Now to be fair, this also probably won't be much fun to drive around, as it's kind of very bumpy, like the pavement or sidewalk is really bumpy if you start driving onto it. And also there's just lots of stuff to crash into, like street poles, well, light poles, whatever you call them. But anyway, I also don't know how this car park should look, so yeah, forgive me. I also made a double car park, which is one which takes up 2 tiles, to be interesting. Anyway, then I started working in the park, which would have a fountain in the middle. The park's actually probably one of the proudest things I made from this, because it actually looked okay. And also started, yeah. So anyway, I added water to the fountain that obviously needs water. I had to use glass, obviously, since there's no water in the game. But it's not too bad. So anyway, I also added a pond as that the cooler. Well, and also you can also smash through it to the sewers if you need to, because yeah. And I made a park because it kind of needs a park because it's a park. But anyway, now there's also a manhole cover in the park, but we didn't talk about that. But anyway, this place is currently looking very plain, but it should look better when we actually, well, make it look good. Now I also added a sand bait, even though the whole thing's made out of sand. And I also had this little building which you can hide inside if you wanted to. Maybe someone will play hide and seek in it, I don't know. So anyway, I also made these trees, which I'm quite proud of. They don't look too bad, and they don't exactly look like trees, but they're a bit stylized, which I think I'll take. They look okay, to be fair. I also made the paths look better, as they're very blocky, so I kind of quickly did them, and they probably wouldn't be very good. They also made out of cracked brick, which I didn't know why I did, but it looks pretty cool, I think. And I also had some street light bulbs, yeah. Now this is actually uses 4 of the normal tiles in a square. That's why it looks a bit different. I also had this little pond. Well, actually, no, this is actually well, no, I actually added made a different mark as well, just smaller 1x1 tiles, just so I can fit in more instantly. So I made it this double car park, which yeah, is a very weird and inefficient layout. But I know how car parks work, so yeah, I think that's to do. Now I also wanted to have this like layered car park, whatever you call it. So yeah, I was planning making that. Now it was going to be in a bit of a weird formation. It was going to be in like we're going to be out of 3 tiles, like a turn, and it also had entries on 2 ends, so it was fitting so that you can enter meet even 2 ends using cars. Now these blocks are quite useful for measuring out the distance between each parking space. And this is also going to be very inefficient with the parking. But none of this is realistic. It's a city, but not realistic. So yeah, the whole point is I make one floor of this and then just duplicate it up, because that'd be way easier. But yeah, now I'm going to say the thing might not look massive, but it is quite big, especially since well, yeah, I can't even place blocks that far. But anyway, one of my regrets now is that I didn't make this in the challenge editor, because in that you can place blocks 32 by in a 32 by 32 area, and but in normal Scrap Cannon you can place it with 16 by 16, so it probably would have been easier, but well. And we did switch to challenge mode later in the video just to weld the list together, but it's a lot easier. Now I am going to be using a few mods in this video. First, the painter from the Legends mods, which basically lets you, well, paint stuff really easily. Now I'm also going to use the anti-gravity machine, I don't know what it's called. It's on the mod pack and it works really well. Now it just lets me fly around, so it makes it a lot easier to go around the world, and you'll always see a few of them placed around the world. As you see, I'm flying around now, even though I'm on the floor, I'm pretty sure I'm. Anyway, then I started on the next thing, office building. I was going to get a few variations of this because I need to, well, basically just different colour ones. But one of them's going to have a car park in the front, and one of them's just going to have a path out at the front, which is just to make it a bit unique. And also, there's going to be a playground for these, but different colours because that's the easiest. But anyway, I started making windows, as you need lots of windows. Yeah, this is not going to be high quality. It definitely looks a bit off, especially since this office is going to have multiple floors that are just duplicated. But it's the easiest way to go, and I kind of need to get this done in like the next few weeks. So I think it'll have to do. Now, so I was going to add computer screens in, like obviously like a kind of monitor for all these desks, but I never really got around to it. So yeah, you're kind of sitting there in like solitude, or just sitting there, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think it looks too bad. It doesn't look cluttered, especially in the end when I added little cardboard boxes to it. But it doesn't look too bad as an office, to be honest. And I wouldn't want to work here, but it's good enough. Now this is one floor. I'm just going to be duplicated up like 5 times, I think. Just because, well, yeah, I want to have taller buildings so it make more of an impact, because the buildings in the last video, they were unique on each floor, and to be fair, each building was quite unique. But they were just so short, they didn't really feel like a city, it felt more like a little town to run around. Or more like a map for a video game, to be honest, rather than a proper like city you can run around. But anyway, I added some lights, which are also going to be you're going to be able to turn off from the circuit breaker downstairs. Just some interactivity, as I want a few switches to press when I go around the map. Yeah. Now I'm going to say I probably will end up using some of the old buildings from my other city, just because I still have the tiles, and it'd just be easier because I can just kind of make them fit in a bit more, and it work fine. You can just change colour. One of the things I want to focus on is that I want all the buildings to be different colours, even if it's just a slight shade. Is it just kind of, well, it just kind of makes it feel like a natural thing and not something that's really repetitive. Something that's like, fabricated. Although obviously this is fabricated. But anyway, this office building was also going to have this other like tower on top, which is just going to be smaller than the rest of the office building, which is going to be pretty tall still. And then I have to decorate this. Oh, it was going pretty well, to be honest. It looked okay and worked okay, to be fair. I used all the office parts that you can see here, made it easier, and I also cluttered up the place of it. Anyway, you also notice that there's no entrance currently, which is you see your code problem, which I'll fix by adding 2 doors. The only way I actually open them was like, I'm going to refrain from adding any bearings to any of these things, mostly just from the fact that it'll get extremely laggy when we have a lot of these things. So the whole city is going to be around 16 by 16 tiles, and even if there's one bearing, only one bearing on each tile, then that'll be around 256 bearings, which is a lot too many for lag. So yeah, I'm going to refrain from adding bearings, just even if it would make it more interactive. It's going to be fun, and also, who doesn't want to just hit down doors anyway, which is cool if you ask me. Yeah, I was going to add some scaffolding up the side of the building, so If you didn't want to go up the normal staircase, you could just go through the scaffolding, which I thought just be cooler. Now, yeah, this thing is. I don't think this thing is going to contain any modded parts, or hopefully not. But to spawn it in, you'll probably have to use the mod pack mostly because this thing, every time you spawn it in, just falls through the world around instantly, just because it's so heavy. To be honest, like there's probably around more than 1 billion blocks in it. I might be wrong, but I just guess. Now I just had to trim the scaffolding at the top bit just to make it so it didn't go higher than the actual building. Now the main thing I want to get out here is just kind of scale right. I want to make it actually feel bigger than you. Because in my old one, the houses were a bit, well, shabby, to be honest. Okay. This is the black variant of the building, which will have a car park outside, just because I want something different in this. It's going to be a small car park that connects to any roads, which will just make it feel a bit more interactive, as I said. Now, setting this up, obviously, yeah, it's fine, it wasn't too hard. No, I did have some problems, but anyway. Then I started actually welding stuff together. And I'm just gonna, well, I've got this little map of all the roads, and I need to have some progress to show for this video, so I'm basically just gonna weld all the roads together, and it was a pain. So you see I'm working on this section of the road, which is going to go along. And this thing's 16 by 16, the perfect size, if you ask me. But anyway, I had to make this 2-tile long road, just because it needed to weld 2 long tile at once, rather than weld 1 long tile twice. So anyway, now you can also start seeing how big this thing is. I'm also just going to mention that I do turn up my render distance so it's easier to see, and then I came into a problem. Yeah, I welded the tile incorrectly, and now it's completely off with the whole thing, and so I had to remove it. But then I went into creative mode, challenge mode. Because challenge mode lets you build your own challenges, but it also lets you fly in the process. So I'm basically just going to build it here, just because the flying's a lot better than the anti-gravity thing. But anyway. This was a lot quicker, it only took me an hour to do the rest of the road, which isn't too long. But welding lots of road is surprisingly hard. There's probably around I don't know, 90 road pieces in this, I can't bother to count. But anyway. I also had to include some extra openings onto roads, as some of the buildings will will connect to road parts, which is why I wanted to do all this now. This wasn't too hard. The road pieces somehow balance on top of the street lights pretty perfectly. I mean, it's just because they're so heavy, the physics don't really get calculated properly. It looks pretty good. You can actually start to see a scale of it. As this thing would take a good probably around a minute to run across. It's quite big. As you've probably seen in the thumbnail, obviously it's quite big. Now I have to weld all this, which sucks. But it should be worth the end result. I'm also going to share this on this Steam Workshop when I finish with it. I might even make a challenge with it, because that'd just be a cool thing to do. As all my other challenges are a bit underperforming. I'm also planning on maybe hiding a duck somewhere in it, and just seeing if anyone finds it, as I could hide it anywhere, and no one would find it pretty much. But no cheating. But yeah. Now one of the worries is this thing will get laggy even without adding bearings, just because it's this big. I don't know how lag stacks up with these things, but yeah. Especially sometimes if you try and move blocks from it, you'll get a small lag spike, but it's very small, so I think I'm just going to carry on. I don't really want to let it discourage it. Anyway, I was doing pretty well. You can see each sector of the city where buildings will go coming out. And also this thing's going to be really cool when everything's well in there. And as you can see, I've basically finished all the roadmap. You see where everything will go, but it looks really cool if you ask me. I'm really proud of it. Now driving down the roads, now this car doesn't have the best friction or the best driving. So if you were actually driving around this properly, it'd probably be okay. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry this is one part and I don't have much to show for it. But I hope you enjoyed anyway. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.